I want to talk to y'all about a setup that I absolutely love using. This thing is a beast. It's able to tackle the biggest of reds that are in the marsh here on the Texas coast. And yeah, so let's get right into it. The reel is a Shimano Conquest 100. The rod is an MTZ custom fishing rod by Andrew Martinez. It's a 7-footer, light action, and these things pair together. It's phenomenal. It's like a match made in heaven. I absolutely love using this thing. For those that are familiar with my channel, you can see, I mean, you know that I have been catching a bunch of beast redfish off of this thing, and it is so tiny. Look at that. I mean, all day comfort. I can palm it. I mean, this thing is small, but it packs a very big punch. It is the twin sister to another setup that y'all have seen me review before. However, the other one is an extra light casting rod, and this one's the light action. So the reel itself, the drag on it is phenomenal. It's buttery smooth. The reds, they don't stand a chance. The drag system, just know that this thing is not going to fail you. I've been using it for a year now, and I mean, it's still the way it functions the way it did whenever I first purchased it. The only thing that I've done different was I've upgraded the drag washers. I went to Carbon Tex because Shimano puts graphite washers in these, and then after several months on my other reel, the graphite washer deteriorated and it just gummed up the inside of my reel. It failed me whenever I was fighting a fish, and so when I upgraded the washers on that one, I bought a spare set and put them in this, and it is phenomenal. I have not had any issues with cleaning the reel, and yeah, so the drag is just amazing. If you are very familiar with using braid, then you know that if your drag fails you in any part whatsoever, the braid will dig into itself, and that means your spool is going to be stuck, and then all that tension, snap. There goes your fish, there goes your line, your lure, and that is not good. The brakes, it's got an SVS braking system right here. The side plate, you've got a dial that says minimum all the way to max. I do not even touch this dial. I leave it on minimum. That's how good this braking system is. Over here on the inside where the spool is, there is a little lever that you push down. It opens up the side plate. Then you got another lever right here. You click it from open or close to open, and then you can just pull the side plate right off. Inside here is your brakes. Uses centrifugal force. You've got 4 little brakes. They're red, and then it says off and on. Well, I have 2 of them off and I have 2 of them on, and whenever the spool starts spinning, the centrifugal force flings these little brakes up and down, and they work like beautifully. They ride up against this little gold ring right here, and the only maintenance that I have to do to the braking system is 2 drops of oil, like maybe once a week, and that's on each side of the little gold ring where the brakes ride against, and then 1 drop of oil into the actual bearing for the spool. That is it. Close her right back up, and then she is in top-notch shape to go out there and do battle with some of the biggest of fish. A little reel that is this tiny packs such a mean punch. Okay, the other thing that you have to maintain about once a week, so let's put it in perspective. I go fishing 4 times out of the week, and that's a lot of use, wear and tear on these reels. So you have to put a couple of drops of oil right here on the level wind. There is a lot of water. Everybody knows that braid absorbs the water, and then when you cast, it throws a fine mist of like moisture. The salt water tends to dry out down here, your level wind gearing. So whenever you're reeling in and the level wind goes to the end of its track on the right hand side or the left hand side, if it's dry, it will stick to either one of those sides, and the crank will keep turning, but all you'll hear is a clicking because the level wind is stuck and off the track. So once a week I put 2-3 drops of oil down there, and then the level wind is perfect, and she is just ready to go and do battle. Fishing line, I use 15-pound Power Pro right here. I did used to have 10-pound inside there. However, fighting redfish in the marsh, there's a lot of oyster in there, and when the reds are just taking that line and the drag is screaming, if they brush up against oyster, the 10-pound is like almost thinner than human hair. It gets frayed a little bit. Next thing you know, it breaks apart, it snaps, it fails you. So I went up to the very next size, which is 15-pound test. That's the happy medium so far. I haven't had any issues with it, and I have to use the super light line because of what I'm casting out there. These lures right over here, these are Bugs curl-tail redfish jigs, deadly out here in a Texas marsh, and they are just phenomenal lures that they're fished like, or they're like flies, but they're fished with conventional gear. So you don't need a fly rod to get these things out there, and they're super light. These are 1/4 ounce, also 1/8 ounce, and then you also see me in my videos throwing the Hoagie Swim and Jack with a Bass Assassin swim hook. This other combo is super deadly out here in Texas, and that's 1/8 of an ounce. For top water, I'm throwing the Zara Puppy or the Spook Junior, and these again 1/4 ounce to 1/8 ounce class. A 1/2 ounce Johnson spoon for the jetties when I'm catching mackerel or speckled trout. Sometimes if you get lucky, you'll get a red to bite one of these things. But these lures are fairly light, and this setup right here, that's what it was put together to throw. Now, because I'm using such light line, it also has the ability to throw these over here. The extra light that I have mainly is what is used for this right over here, but I have the ability to get this out there really far into the wind with really great precision and accuracy. These are anywhere from like the 1/8 ounce and lower, like to 1/16 ounce, maybe 1/32 ounce, with a bait caster. That is insane. It blows my mind that I'm able to do that. But that's why I had Andrew Martinez build me this MTZ custom fishing rod right here. Light action, very hard to find any big box manufacturer producing a rod like this right here. Just couldn't find it. I asked Shimano when I went to the Houston Fishing Show. They didn't produce anything. None of the other rod manufacturers. They kept trying to push me onto what they produce. And I'm like, you're not listening to me. Andrew definitely listened to me. I told him what I was looking for, that I had been trying to find it, but I couldn't. And after describing it to him, this is the masterpiece that he came up with. 7-foot rod so that I can reach the tip over my bow when I'm out on the kayak, and it is just phenomenal. It's a dream to be able to be using this rod and reel the way I imagined it whenever I was out there fighting fish with the other stuff. I'm like, I really need something to where I can whip it with one hand. I'm fishing 4 times out of the week. That's a lot, and it does not fatigue my wrist. This whole thing is very light. The rod itself came under 3 ounces. I think it was like 2.7 ounces for just the rod by itself. You know, let that sink in for a minute. That is just crazy. It'll blow your mind on how light this thing is. So casting with one hand is very easy. You're super accurate. There's a ton of bend and flex in the rod itself. Just take a look at some of my videos and you'll see that firsthand. So the components that it is made up of, we've got 2 types of cork. One is German burl, and the other cork, I forget what Andrew called it, but it's got a crazy name. And yeah, they're perfect. I mean, designed to fit my hand perfectly. And the reel seat is Alps. The reel hood is by Fuji. And let's see, what else do we got? I told Andrew that I wanted this particular type setup for the reel seat because I wanted to have hand contact with the blank itself, so that the sensitivity was going to be there, and I would be able to know what it was that I'm bumping against, or what it is that is at the other end of my line, so that I don't set the hook into some oyster, or like prematurely set the hook whenever a mullet swims by and brushes up against the line. I can definitely tell the difference now, because I've been, again, using the reel for over a year now, and the rod for several months. When you go fishing that much, you just know what it is that is at the other end of your line. So the rod itself, the blank, is a Batson Rain Shadow, fairly inexpensive, and yeah, the guides are Fuji titanium guides with the SIC inserts, the rings. There are 10 guides, and then you have the tip. So 11 total. It is well balanced. They are laid out perfectly, and the rod bend is just phenomenal. I mean, if anything, it's going to boost your confidence when you see such a very light rod doubled over, bringing in upper slot reds. It is just a match made in heaven. This rod with the reel itself, my gosh, it is just beautiful. I'm able to cast all day long. My trips usually last anywhere from 5 hours to maybe 10 hours, depends on how long the grind is. But my gosh, this thing is just phenomenal. All right, so if you're in the market for a new rod, I'm going to leave Andrew Martinez's information down below, to include his phone number. Give him a call if you're in the Houston area, or if you're out of the area, I mean, call him up. He can definitely put together a rod based off of what you tell him that you want, and you'd be surprised on how cheap a custom rod will cost you. The components, like the most expensive thing on this build right here, were my guides. I used Fuji titanium because of its corrosive, like saltwater fighting ability. 7 months and 0 rust. There is no corrosion on any of my guides, and that's what they do for you. But guess what? You pay a premium for those guides. However, if you're in the freshwater market and you don't need titanium or the SIC inserts, well, then buy something a little bit cheaper, and you'll get you a very nice build exactly to your specs. And you just, again, you're going to be so surprised at how cheap it could possibly be to have yourself a custom rod built the way you want. All right, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, click that thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button. I definitely appreciate you watching, and until next time, tight lines, everyone.